I know we've gone through a lot of material today, and just a couple more hours left. We're going to switch gears a little bit now. We're going to talk about middleware. How many developers in the audience? How many people write code in their day jobs? Come on, don't be shy. I know there's more of you out there. How many people already use JBoss? JBoss Enterprise Application Platform, the app server. A couple people? Okay, all right. I knew there was some out there. Very good. So I want to tell the middleware story in the context of open hybrid cloud and Red Hat's overall vision that you've been learning about today since the opening words by Jay and then later by Tim Yaten. And then more recently, just before the break, my colleague Krishna talked a little bit about DevOps. And I want to tie a number of those themes and concepts together and tell a little bit more about JBoss middleware and all the different aspects of that product portfolio that we have to offer. So the theme that you see here, engage customers through enlightened innovation. Enlightened innovation is kind of an overall theme that we talk about JBoss middleware within. The idea of enlightened innovation is that with JBoss middleware, you as IT folks in your businesses can innovate faster in a smarter way using JBoss middleware. And we want to talk about some of the ways that we enable you to do that. And the particular title of my talk here is Engage Customers. We're going to tell the story in the context of a particular example of a retail business and how they use different components, different products within JBoss middleware to better engage their customers. So the starting premise, the starting idea here is that customers are, in general, very demanding, right? It's a competitive marketplace out there. The businesses that you, as IT folks, are supporting are hard-pressed to really respond to the demands of the customer and ultimately to delight these customers. And in order to delight customers, in order to better respond to their needs, their wants, their desires, there's a transformation that needs to happen within enterprise IT. It's an overall theme of the whole day. You've been hearing about transformation all day. There's been a lot of talk so far about transforming infrastructure, right? So the way the operating system is used, the way infrastructure as a service is architected within data centers, and a number of concepts like that. Equally, this idea of transformation applies at the level of the developer tools, the developer libraries, the developer-oriented technologies, such as those in JBoss middleware. So I want to zero in on three particular demands that customers put on IT today. Three different aspects of the modern customer, and then we're going to talk through some of the implications of those demands for the way we develop enterprise applications today and going forward. So the first thing is that customers expect businesses to be more immediate. They expect business to respond practically instantaneously, right? It's no longer acceptable for when a customer demands something of a business for that business to get back to them tomorrow or next week or even in a few hours. This is kind of the era of instant gratification, right? We are so spoiled in a way by our lives as consumers and the way we can do things instantly using our smartphones and our iPads and even just interacting with various technologies like kiosks in airports or in shopping malls. So immediacy is very important. Second, customers today expect businesses to be more pervasive. And that's maybe a big English word, but what it means is that the business has to be in more different places. The customer is no longer satisfied to just go to a business's single location, whether that's a physical location, like a storefront, or a virtual location, such as a website. The business needs to pervade more different channels, more different places. It has to be both physical and virtual. Businesses have to be embedded within ecosystems and show up within their partners' websites, within their partners' physical locations. This is what customers expect. And the third aspect of the modern customer, the third demand that the modern customer puts on us as IT folks today, is that customers expect the business to be more aware. So if I, as a customer, as a consumer, if I'm interacting with my business, with a business, a provider, a vendor of some service or product to me, I want that business to remember what I've already purchased. I want that business to understand what my preferences are. I want that business to be smart about what I've already communicated to it and take that into account in the offers it prevents me, the opportunities it prevents me, in what that business allows me to do, right? Don't you hate it when you're on the phone, you've entered in your name and your account number and whatever, and you're going through a voicemail menu, and then you finally get to a live person and they say, can you give me your account number? Well, it's like I've already entered it in. Why are you asking me for it again? That same logic applies to the general interaction between a customer and a business today. So hopefully thinking about the implications of those three ideas, more immediate, more pervasive, more aware, makes it clear that we need a transformation within IT today. And that's what Red Hat JBoss middleware is promising. That is the idea, that's the vision of what middleware enables, and in particular, Red Hat JBoss middleware enables developers, architects, and in general, the IT folks within a business to provide for that business. So the particular story, the particular kind of vehicle we'll use to talk about how JBoss middleware can transform is this idea of how not to lose your customers. And we think about a retail business, selling maybe some kind of consumer products. The ideas that we'll talk about are not limited to that context, not limited to that scenario, but it provides a nice way to tell the story. So the goal is to understand the customer, right? So, and this probably of the three ideas we just talked about, immediate, pervasive, aware, understanding your customer really comes into play with regard to being more aware. The business and the IT supporting that business needs to do a better job of understanding the customer. There are a couple of channels or a couple of means of gathering information about that customer in order to create that understanding, right? There's the in-store app, there's maybe a mobile app, and there are probably numerous back office applications, back office data stores, such as CRM, customer relationship management. And through those different channels, a customer will convey or communicate his or her needs, wants, and desires. And so the goal here is for the business, and again, IT in support of that business, to take advantage of those different channels to gather those different types of information about the customer. To fully engage with the customer, and this is now getting into the idea of pervasive, the business needs to interact with the customer, engage with the customer in different places. So there's on the road, there's on the street when the customer is maybe walking around downtown, and there's when the customer is actually in the store. And there are different needs and wants. These different contexts ultimately motivate and give the opportunity to learn different things about the customer. So when a customer is on the road, they may want to find the nearest location of a physical store so that they can go buy something, right? They may want to find the route to that store with the lightest traffic. When the customer is actually already parked and walking along the street, or maybe they weren't even driving in the first place, they're just walking around downtown, they may have some general needs to learn about the weather and where they might find different retailers of different categories. They might want sort of related information, like where they might be able to grab a bite to eat before they do their shopping. And then once they're in the store, right, the consumer is going to want to learn what are the deals of the day. And again, this is where that awareness comes back into play, right? If I'm a consumer and I'm in the store and I'm looking at an app on my smartphone for that store, I want the offers to be personalized. I want them to reflect what my preferences are, what my past buying habits have been, and what I've already bought and obviously don't need any more of. Now, in order to achieve that multi-channel engagement and achieve that better understanding of the customer, what the business has to do is understand all of the different kinds of incoming data and make sense of it. And usually what the situation looks like today is that there are many different back office systems, many different channels of information coming in, and this mess of integration spaghetti trying to connect all that stuff together in an infinite list of point-to-point communications and connections between the different pieces. It's a mess. And what we propose here, what we want to talk about in terms of how to fix that, is what you can do with Red Hat JBoss middleware to tame that complexity, to clean up that mess, to make the integrations more sensible and rational, to make the pieces that are being integrated work better, and ultimately how to automate more of the aspects of the overall system such that the consumer's engagement, the customer's engagement with the business is, again, more immediate, more pervasive, and more aware. And to introduce another triad of concepts, another set of 3 different ideas here, what we talk about when we talk about JBoss middleware is a set of pillars that we refer to as accelerate, integrate, and automate. Each of the JBoss middleware products falls into one of these categories and can be thought of as enabling or enhancing the faster performance, the acceleration, the tying together, the integration, or the automation, the taking out of manual steps and the elimination of bottlenecks in order to make that better customer experience. So let's walk through each of those and talk about JBoss middleware in those contexts. So accelerate, this is maybe the easiest of the ideas. Accelerate comes from the foundation of the stack. So in the case of JBoss middleware, it's JBoss Enterprise Application Platform. That's the app server as we all know it. It's the implementation of the Java EE specification. It's the container, if you will, the container of the application that the developer builds against. And by using JBoss EAP as the foundation within your application development, you gain performance, enterprise scale, enterprise reliability. You gain ease of deployment, whether it's in a traditional physical or virtualized environment or a cloud environment, public or private. And then you also gain performance with JBoss EAP's lightweight, fast turnaround, fast restart, and ultimately high performance once in production. You have acceleration in the sense of the performance of the app itself. And also want to start to tease a little bit here with the idea of Red Hat OpenShift as an important part of the foundation. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a bit, and then Krishna's going to talk to you about that right after me here. But I want to already sort of plant the idea in your minds that running the foundation, running the accelerate part of the stack on top of platform as a service, particularly OpenShift, is an important part of the story here. So integrate. Integrate has a number of different manifestations in technology, a number of different kinds of products to help you tie different things together. We talk about integration helping one consume, compose, and connect data sources. This is what comes into play when you talk about data virtualization, right? So when you have many different data sources with customer data that you're trying to bring together to better understand your customer, in many cases, JBoss data virtualization is exactly what the developer needs to sort of pull all of those different data sources together and make them easier to develop with. But another aspect of integration is basically the different ways that different components communicate with each other. And there are a number of different paradigms or design patterns that developers use in order to do that kind of integration. There's the enterprise service bus. There is messaging. And these technologies have evolved over time. We have the absolute latest and greatest in terms of the new world of service bus as implemented in our JBoss Fuse technology. That we have the absolute best messaging technology in our JBoss AMQ. So when it comes to tying all those disparate pieces together, these are the technologies that come into play. And then last but certainly not least is automate. So once you have all of the different pieces of your application, your overall system, enabled and accelerated by virtue of that solid foundation on JBoss EAP. And once you have the pieces tied together with these different integration technologies, what you're then able to do is start to automate more and more of the overall system, taking out human decision points and making it much easier to adapt a system going forward. And this is where technologies like business rules management, JBoss Business Rules Management System, and business process management, such as in JBoss BPM Suite, come into play. When you use these technologies, you can, again, further automate the different parts of the system, making the overall application and the overall experience for the consumer to be that much more immediate, pervasive, and aware. I wanted to come back and drop another little tease for some of what we're going to talk about later on this afternoon. Again, you see OpenShift by Red Hat up here, and the combination of Red Hat JBoss middleware and OpenShift really leads to a whole new paradigm, a whole new way of developing enterprise applications, taking advantage of the self-service flexibility afforded by the cloud, marrying that with the power and capabilities of JBoss middleware. That brings us to an offering that we're referring to as JBoss XPath services for OpenShift. And I have a whole other session on that, so I won't go into great detail on that right now. But again, just to seed in your minds the idea here that further cloud enablement of everything that we're talking about with middleware here really takes the story to the next level. So we have this idea of innovative retail, right? We've talked about linking applications, data, and devices across your entire enterprise, using those integration technologies I mentioned. Pulling all this together allows us to better listen to, understand, combine, aggregate, and really pull useful information out of all the data coming from our customers in all of these different channels. That, again, is really what we're getting at when we talk about enlightened innovation with JBoss middleware. So innovating faster in a smarter way, just to reiterate these three ideas, accelerate at the foundation layer, integrate with those technologies in the middle of the stack, and then automate using business rules and business process management ideas. So here are all the technologies, the stack, as it were, in one big picture, just so you get a sense of all of what we're talking about here. So at the foundation layer, I mentioned JBoss Enterprise Application Platform. That's the app server. Right? We also have a packaging of the Apache web server as JBoss web server. And then more recently, and maybe more advanced for folks who are really looking to get to that highest level of scaling and performance, is JBoss Data Grid. This allows an application to hold much more data in memory rather than having to suffer all the latency of going back and forth to disk. And you also get greater reliability by virtue of having data replicated within that in-memory data grid. In the integration area, so I've mentioned the service bus technologies, and those are encapsulated in our JBoss Fuse and JBoss Fuse Service Works products. JBoss AMQ is a packaging of the Apache MQ messaging technologies. And then data virtualization, again, that is a way of taking disparate data sources and making them appear to the application developer as if they were all one logical database, right? As if they were all one logical schema. So very powerful technology to simplify development and decouple applications from the specifics of the schemas and the other kind of configuration parameters of underlying data sources. And then at the top of the stack really comes into play automation by virtue of business rules and thinking of the world as processes and modeling flows, workflows as processes and encoding those workflows in a way where business analysts can manipulate them. So you don't even have to have a Java developer all the time to go and make changes in raw Java code in order to accommodate changes in your, as your business evolves. And then of course we've got management tools for the runtime of this in Red Hat JBoss Operations Network. And the developers develop using all of these JBoss middleware technologies using our JBoss Developer Studio, which is based on the Eclipse open source development environment. And again, all of the JBoss middleware technologies we are in the process of enabling them on OpenShift. Already today, our JBoss EAP is available on OpenShift. But the other technologies, BPM, the messaging in AMQ, business rules, they're all being fully enabled on OpenShift, and in a way that isn't just a simplistic, turn into a cartridge, but rather really reimagined and re-enabled in the idea of XPath, as we'll talk about more in a little bit. So with that, what I want to do is I want to hand off to my colleague Krishna, who's going to tell you some more about the OpenShift technologies and OpenShift value proposition, and then I'll come back in a little bit and talk about how these all come together and a little bit more about what this XPath is all about. So thank you very much, and I will see you shortly.